Last time, on proposals to build a railway to Doncaster, which ultimately crashed and burned, we looked at the DART, short for Doncaster Area Rapid Transit, a set of 4 bus routes designed to provide a somewhat decent public transport service from the city to Doncaster, and the city of Manningham more broadly. In that video, we also briefly touched on the 1969 proposal for the Doncaster line, which managed to progress far enough to a point where construction actually started in 1974. However, cost blowouts led to construction stalling, and the corridor beyond Bulleen was ultimately sold off in 1984. However, this isn't the first proposal for a railway to Doncaster which ended up collapsing, and in this video we're going all the way back to 1890 to look at a bold but interesting proposal to extend an already existing suburban branch line to Doncaster and even beyond. This is the story of the other Doncaster line. We're going to start our story in Hawthorn, which is the station on the modern-day Belgrave, Lilydale and Alamein lines, and is a mere 500 metres northeast of the Yarra River. In 1887, Hawthorn became the junction for a short 2-kilometre long branch line which ran to the neighbouring suburb of Kew. The line had 2 stations, Barker, located between Barker's Road and Hawthorn Grove, and finally Kew itself, which was located on the corner of Denmark and Wellington Streets. The station building at Kew was a Malden type, which isn't an uncommon design in Victoria, and you can find several buildings of that same design all around the suburban network, including quite a few on the Upfield line in the Brunswick and Coburg areas. Now, the Kew line was really short, and naturally it wasn't long before proposals to extend the line began to appear. In 1890, 3 years after the opening of the Kew line, a proposal was put forward to extend the line to Doncaster and beyond to Warrandyte, along with a branch to Templestowe. From Kew, the line would have entered a lengthy 1-kilometre long tunnel before surfacing at the Broondara Cemetery, and within this tunnel there would have also been an underground station near the Kew post office. After leaving the tunnel, the line would have then crossed the Outer Circle Railway near East Kew Station, before continuing through open countryside to Doncaster and beyond to Warrandyte. The line to Templestowe would have branched off somewhere in the Balwyn North area, however I can't seem to find any specific information as to where the junction would have been. Apparently railway authorities seriously considered this proposal, and it actually went far enough that in 1921 the Chief Commissioner and Chief Engineer of the Victorian Railways went to Kew Station with a blueprint for the extension. In 1928, the proposal was altered to instead have the line terminate at Doncaster, with the line from Doncaster to Warrandyte and the branch to Templestowe having been scrapped. This proposal was later included in the 1940 Ashworth Improvement Plan, which was a report that recommended a number of major improvements to the suburban network. However, this was 1940. Australia was in the middle of World War II, and the war effort meant that there wasn't a lot of money left over to fund rail network improvements. Some of these were carried out, such as the construction of the flyover at Burnley Station, but a majority of the recommendations were put aside. A lot of the Ashworth Improvement Plan recommendations were later resurrected and incorporated into Operation Phoenix, the VR's post-war rehabilitation scheme. However, the Doncaster extension was excluded from this scheme. So the Kew line continued to remain little more than a short 2-station branch line. In 1930, services on the line were altered to run as a shuttle from Hawthorn during the off-peak, and this practice was also extended to afternoon peak trains in 1937. Passenger numbers continued to decline, and as a result, through trains to the city ceased in 1939. And at the same time, service was cut back drastically, with only peak hour and Sunday morning services running, while the remainder of services were replaced by buses. The death knell for the Kew line sounded in 1952, when the passenger service ceased altogether. The remaining bus services were later cancelled in 1956, but goods trains to Kew continued to operate until the line finally closed in 1957. Today there aren't really any remains of the line to be seen. Part of the corridor has been converted to a linear park, however other parts of the corridor have since been repurposed as linear car parks. There also isn't much to see of Kew and Barker stations either, as they were both demolished sometime after closure. A motor inn was built on the site of Barker Station in 1960 and was demolished in 2011, with the site now awaiting redevelopment. As for Kew, the site of the station later became home to the now former head office of Vic Roads, which at the time of writing is also about to be demolished to make way for housing. After the closure of the line, the proposed extension was finally abandoned. However, instead of abandoning the idea of a Doncaster line altogether, alternative options began to be explored, and in 1969, a new proposal for a line from Victoria Park to Doncaster East, running in the median of the then newly proposed Eastern Freeway, first appeared. But we all know how that turned out. So that's the story of the Q line and the other proposed railway to Doncaster. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Feel free to join the Discord server, link in the description, and thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.